Hanging with the wrong, you want to be a follower, you following people. Only 12 years old though, like you not even understanding. You done threw your whole fucking life away for nothing though. Boy, you is crazy as hell. You just don't know. They gonna give you some time because you got something to do with it. You was there. You just ain't understanding where I was from. I can't even do nothing. They won't even tell me nothing what you charged with, nothing. Because they want you to tell what the you see.
With Nip Hustle. Big shout out to SPI, Spotter Low. You know, I'm in the black box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.
Man, I got a case, a video I stumbled across about a case of this little fine female who, you see the title, you see the thumbnail, right? She was with this dude for 5 days. And it's conflicting stories as to exactly what actually transpired between them. But my problem is this. Here it is. This is a reputable news reporting station, true crime type. What's the name of this channel? Let me see. The name of the channel is True Crime News, right? And these are some very respectable people, lawyers, and reporters discussing this. And as horrible as it is what happened to this female, they just tend to not want to put no accountability, no responsibility, no judgment on her. They actually use that phrase multiple times for the way she was living. And reported as part of the way she was living was as an escort. And from what I can gather, it has a lot to do with how she ended up unfortunately losing her life. And, you know, for as much, I didn't see the whole video, but for as much as I saw, they were breaking it down, dissecting it, and basically just ignoring the fact that she was making horrible decisions by involving herself in a life of sex work. But other than that, I just wanted to go through their report, go through the story, see if you see some of the things that I see, and let's just talk about it. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Oh, my.
A word of warning, this podcast explores graphic and disturbing stories and includes some strong language. It therefore may not be suitable for our young listeners or other folks who may find it disturbing. Hello and welcome to True Crime News, the podcast covering high-profile and under-the-radar cases from across the country every week. I'm your host, Anna Garcia. Our case this week, they'd known each other for just 5 days, and at the end of this quick romance, the part-time model was found chopped up and stuffed into her own refrigerator in her luxury apartment building. Police say he's no Prince Charming, but rather a convicted felon with a long, violent history. Now he's in jail, charged with her murder. We're recording this on Friday, October 24th of 2025. Our guest today is Gerald Griggs, an attorney, a social justice activist, an incredibly busy man. Gerald is a dear friend of the show. We haven't been able to book you because you've been in court so much. It's lovely to see you, Gerald.
It's great to be here, Anna. And actually, I'm in between court right now, but I'm just honored to be back on the show.
Oh, my gosh. So what kind of a room are you in at the courthouse? Are you in the closet?
I'm in the conference room next to the courtroom.
Oh, okay. That explains the walls, the bland walls. Well, again, you're super busy and we're so appreciative. Wonderful to see you again. Okay, let's get right to it. Our case today is out of Los Angeles, where a pregnant model has been murdered and found chopped up, stuffed in her refrigerator. The victim here is 31-year-old Melissa Mooney. Police say that she was killed by a man that she had met 5 days earlier and had a brief but very intense relationship with. That man is 43-year-old Mangus Humphrey of Minnesota. The two were introduced by a mutual friend when Mangus was visiting the family in the Long Beach area. He has a father and a brother out here. And Melissa was an aspiring model who, according
I know whoever introduced her to that dude is dealing with a cold guilt trip.
to published reports, worked part-time as a model, worked part-time as a real estate agent, and worked part-time as an escort.
Yeah, they put that last, but then unintentionally put all that emphasis on the word escort. But then watch how they make it seem like when you watch the news, if you look at the commercial, they're gonna tell you the biggest story. But when you actually watch the news, they're gonna show it last. In that list, they said that last, but in the same sense, that's the biggest element here. But watch how they downplay it.
So she was beautiful, as you've seen in the photos. My question to you, Gerald, in this case, generally when we see this level of violence, it's generally, and it's horrible to make generalities, it's in a relationship that's been going on for a while. This is 5 days. And the fact that they were introduced by mutual friends that they knew, I think, sometimes you disarm yourself a little bit.
Absolutely. When you meet somebody through a friend, you already come with some level of comfortability. And so, for a relationship that was basically in its infancy, to see this level of violence is very, very disturbing. And you would have thought that the friends would have known in the past that there have been issues with this intimate partner. But it's very strange to see this level of violence in a very early on a relationship.
And it based on the descriptions, because there's been a pre-trial hearing and we've been able to get some of the evidence that authorities say they have in this case. And, it sounds so intense, like they meet and then she's hanging out with his family in his dad's backyard barbecue. They're talking about marriage. I mean, it's really, really intense. And then all of a sudden it becomes an explosive, violent scene, according to authorities, based on the condition of her body and based on what they believe the trigger was. And they believe that the trigger was two things. One, authorities believe he had become possessive of Melissa, kind of calling her his. And again, he just met the woman and she is stunning. And then on the reverse, she was also an escort. And so she expected some kind of payment for her time. And when she asked for it, that was the last time anybody heard from her.
Yeah, I mean, I think what happened here was you had a guy who became immensely infatuated with a young lady, and his expectations exceeded what he received. And then, of course, when she, based on her previous experiences and her business, expected more financial compensation, it was an explosive cocktail.
Oh, really something. So this happened in early September of 2023. Magnus flew to Los Angeles to see his father and brother. And as we said, there was a mutual friend here of Melissa who suggested that they.
When you check their profiles one against the other, you could tell, looking in hindsight, she just was trying to get some change. I could not see her being mutually attracted to dude, and that's just a natural. And maybe I'm working with the benefit of this information of knowing what took place. Perhaps seeing them as a couple presented normally, maybe he comes across different.
All go out. And according to the detailed reporting by Courthouse News Service, which covered the pretrial hearing, Magnus, his brother, the mutual friend who has been identified in court and in police records as Kirsten Dossett, and Melissa all met at a Santa Monica bar where they apparently partied, did some cocaine. Magnus and Melissa then end up really hitting it off after this initial encounter. The two of them have this brief consensual relationship, which became intense. And I'm using words of the prosecutors. They're calling it this kind of a relationship.
That's because they got text messages between the two of them that showed that they was mutually engaging in these activities. And she ain't said nothing about no bread. So they still watch, they gonna fuse her sex worker life into this as if it was only right for her to be asking to be compensated. Watch how they just make her seem like a lily white angel, and that it's just it complicates the whole situation when you don't call a spade a spade. If she wasn't out here selling pussy, she perhaps would still be alive. But then they gonna try to color it like she wasn't quite selling. Come on, just watch.
Now, according to friends, Magnus began staying at Melissa's apartment shortly after they met in Santa Monica, and that's when he became possessive. And they spent practically every hour together. In fact, some of the testimony was this, that Magnus would claim that she's, quote, "that's my girl, that's my woman." Again, very possessive. I mean, one thing is there's flattery and there's possession and obsession. What do you think, Gerald?
She gave herself to him within that short period of time to an extent that an extremely possessive person could gain those feelings of being possessive over that person. It's not like she was running away from him, ignoring his calls, and he was just extremely possessive. She fed into it while expecting compensation and not being upfront about it, it seems.
I think you're right on. I think what happened here was they were caught in a whirlwind. And, honestly, if you look at the level of beauty of this young lady, she was well above anything he could ever aspire to have. And he just became infatuated to the point.
That's type of stuff we supposed to say in the black box. How does people like them make that statement? Like, that's crazy. Anything above he could ever imagine. It's just according to who?
That it was progressive. I mean, it was possessive. It was, borderline an obsession.
I'm so glad you said that, because honestly, as I've been looking at all the photos and I've been biting my tongue, I just wanted to spit it out. She's a knockout. She's gorgeous. And he's not all that, And he's just not. So I can see what he saw in her. It's like, oh my goodness, I finally have.
They put up a mug shot versus a glamour shot. I'm glad I spoke on that first and was saying, like, I see how it looks, but under other circumstances, just imagine she was dealing with him to a certain extent after being introduced to him by a mutual friend. So he must come off at least slightly different from what we can see in the mugshot.
I mean, this is the most beautiful woman I've seen in my life. And we are keeping judgment out about how she earned her living. I'm not going to judge her.
There's no way that these two can make a fair assessment of these events that transpired by not classifying her line of work as such. There are dangers that come along with that line of work that cannot be ignored. They need not be ignored. They need to be highlighted as a forewarning to anyone thinking about participating in those type of activities.
But I also want to remind everyone, this woman worked 3 jobs. She paid her bills, and what she arranged between other men, I'm not judging her here. So the thing here is, you look at him, you look at.
I guess so. Would you be judging her pimp if she had one? Is the whole industry, the whole interactions of how it may be taking place cool? Or are you just because she's so beautiful, you refuse to stand in judgment of the decision she made? You don't have to judge her, but you have to judge the decisions she made in order to give a fair assessment of what took place.
Her, and what I'm trying to figure out is, what did she see in him?
She's a hardworking young lady working 3 jobs, trying to make ends meet, and she works this other job as a escort, a sex worker. And so people are going to ask the question, well, why would an exceptionally beautiful woman deal with this guy? And so I think it probably was a little bit of the drugs, and then, of course, the quickness of the relationship. And then, of course,
this dude need not be making this type of commentary, because just as a type, him and dude look extremely similar. So the same thing that anyone would be saying about that dude and that female, they would be saying about you and that female too, bro. I don't see much difference in your profile and his. Take off the bow tie and the suit, put you in what he got on, and put him in what you got on. You guys can reverse and take places. Switch places.
she probably expected him to help take care of her because she's used to working these 3 jobs, and I'm sure she's used to men providing funds for her.
Working 3 jobs and being used to someone else providing for you don't even coincide. Typically, someone works 3 jobs because they have no one to provide for them. And typically, when someone has someone to provide for them, there's no need or desire to work 3 jobs. And if you got somebody providing for you and you already got 2 jobs and then you're selling punani, maybe you just a freak. Maybe it's just a choice. They just trying to clean her up a little too much. That's my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. According to the reporting of Courthouse News Service, things got very intense over 2 issues. So Melissa, who again was reportedly a sex worker, an escort, she expected to be paid for her time with him. And according to the testimony of the LAPD detective on this case, Melissa was trying to figure out how to ask him for money, which is interesting because if she's an escort, usually my belief is if you're in this business, you negotiate things up front. And so this may have been a blurring of the lines. This may have been a meeting someone.
Her playing games and then her trying to play him. She met him at a party, got loaded, woo, like the vibe. He must have been talking that She gave up the punani. He digging it. She appeared real decent to him. He don't see none of the sex worker type energy coming off of her. And he got to feeling her. She got to behaving like she felt him. And then she tried to switch it up with bullshit at the end. He couldn't handle that.
Socially, there might have been something about him that you liked. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, but if I spend all my time with you, then I'm not, can you help me out a bit? So it's interesting the way she asked for something. She shares this dilemma about, I don't know how to ask him, to remind him, listen, I'm an escort. You can't spend 24 hours with me. I got work here. And so she tells her friend Kirsten this, who testified that the 2 women had a text exchange and that Kristen suggested, well, why don't you ask him to buy you a $500 gift card to Best Buy? Very practical here. And Melissa responded, he doesn't have it. So I think at this point, Gerald, I think maybe we're having the realization of the guy you think showed up at the party may not be the guy you thought he was.
Absolutely. And I'm sure he put on a brand persona when he first met her. I'm sure there was talk about his lavish lifestyle, something that he could, weave a story to get a woman this beautiful to take time out of her busy schedule to be with him every waking hour. So she probably thought she had met a rich guy. And when it turned out he was not a rich guy who was trying to possess all of her time, that's when the dilemma began.
Mm-hmm. The comedian Chris Rock has this great saying about when people are dating that, you find out that you're dating someone's representative.
Representative, yes. Yeah. And then the real person shows up. And so when the real person showed up, she knew she had a problem.
Exactly. So prosecutors claim.
Imagine you think you meeting the girl of your dreams and come to find out she's a prostitute. And then these people reporting it like your real person showed up. This is crazy. They did say that that's the oldest profession in the world, man. This is the era where I guess hoeing is going. That's crazy that they acting like this just is.
That she continued to express frustration over Magnus not paying for anything because apparently he's staying in her apartment. It's not just time. It's like he's plunked himself down in her life. So it's like, now hold on a second. So according to the prosecutors, what started out as a consensual encounter between these 2 people, and I'm quoting here, then evolved into a situation where the victim was wanting to ask the defendant for money, but not knowing exactly how to do it, as we've said. Okay, so prosecutors.
She must have been new at the trade. She ain't been doing this too long. She didn't know how to add for her coins. Was she in love? I need my people that know some game. You feel me? Male and female. Let me know who was tripping. Was she tripping or he tripping? He tripped, of course. But was she tripping the way she was dealing with him as a trick?
Prosecutors allege that Magnus saw Melissa as his property. So clearly he didn't think he needed to pay for anything, including someone testified, including the cocaine that they were snorting. So I'm just saying,
It's kind of like when you go out for coffee with someone and no one either pays for themselves or no one offers to buy you the cup of coffee. There's some like simple civil things that we do to appreciate the other person. It isn't always about a lot of money. I'm just tossing that out there. So, Melissa was last seen alive September 6th of 2023. Surveillance video from her apartment building shows her taking the elevator to her fifth floor apartment. September 7th, the next day, Melissa is texting Magnus and she sends him two links. One for buying pots and pans on Amazon, and the other one for, I believe, a general electric appliance like a toaster oven. After she made that request to buy her these things, that's when she disappears and is never seen alive again.
So she asked for appliances and he wouldn't pay for the cocaine.
She asked for appliances and ultimately ended up in a refrigerator. How ironic is that?
Wow.
And just to give you more context, she had recently, like the month before, moved in to this new apartment that she was paying for by herself, living there herself. And that's going to be very important when she disappears because she was expected to go to her old apartment to pick up some stuff. Now,
She knew the dude didn't have 500 to spend on a Walmart gift card. If she was some real game, she was supposed to shake him up out of her situation immediately. You got to go. If you got to have a couple of other fellas pull up to help him feel like motivated to leave. She supposed to be gamed up better than this.
again, I'm not about to judge this woman, certainly not as a victim of crime here.
I don't know why they feel like there's no judgment to be placed upon a woman selling her punani. It's not like you want to say, oh, she was supposed to die. Of course not. However, you have to be able to analyze the decisions she made, the steps she took that helped this situation progress in a negative fashion. Or you just delusional.
She's asking for some pots and pans. Do you know what I'm saying, Gerald?
Well, but after she fronted the cocaine, she wanted to be hit back with pots and pans. They still trying to make her lily white. That's all it takes is to be beautiful, huh? That's crazy.
That she's building a new life in a new apartment and she needs household appliances to help fill out the apartment. These are reasonable requests, especially if you're in a whirlwind relationship and you're going to build a life. I guess they're building a life together in these 5 days. And so it's reasonable to ask for pots and pans and electrical appliances. She wasn't asking for a lot.
No, I don't think so. Especially if he's staying there. It's like, if you're staying here, you're eating my food. You're not taking me out for dinner. This is just me speculating. And she's like, you say you want to marry me. I just moved into this apartment since you wouldn't buy me dinner last night or you won't take me out. Can you, can you do me a favor? Like when you have a house guest, could you do something nice, like pick up some flowers?
And women, you get to get on the first night and then think 5 days later, you can start charging somebody for they already got you crazy. Now, if she wasn't trying to charge him for pussy and really trying to move on with a life with him after 5 days, she's another kind of crazy. She's just crazy. He was crazy. Crazy met crazy and it got crazy.
Pick up the groceries or buy me some pots and pans. I mean, this is really what we're talking about. And I think that's why, first of all, I'm upset about any family losing a loved one. And she had a sister and she had parents and, family, extended family. But what she asked for, oh my, could it be any more mundane?
I mean, but just imagine how she valued her box. That's what she trading her box for. Shame on her. Shame on him. I'm not trying to just place the blame on her, but you can't report to this story and don't call a spade a spade.
No, it couldn't be more mundane. I mean, you would expect, something big to set somebody off. I mean, we're not judging the type of work she does or did, But if somebody asks, hey, you've been staying with me for 5 days, I need $5,000 for my time, that would be something more you'd see an argument, not full-fledged murder and hiding the body. Those type of things. As for pots and pans and you to help out around the house, that's not unreasonable.
Yeah, exactly.
Not even considering the fact that it might be more to it. She may have done or said something other than just that. Like, of course, that sounds extremely ridiculous. So you don't assume that there may be more to it?
So, she's never seen again, meaning never seen again alive. However, Magnus is seen on security cameras entering the apartment building using Melissa's key fob. He reportedly entered the residence carrying some plastic grocery bags. Authorities claim that he was later seen leaving the apartment throwing away a big black bag. Police say he then drove from downtown Los Angeles to Long Beach to return his father's car that he was borrowing during this trip, and then he flew home to Minnesota. A few days later, her family becomes very upset because they haven't heard from her. They asked police to do a welfare check. On September 9th, she was expected to go to her old residence to pick up some of her old stuff to move into her current apartment. When she didn't show up, her sister contacted the police. And on September 10th, they request this welfare check. Apparently, the authorities arrive and they couldn't make contact with anyone in the residence and they didn't enter the apartment. Gerald, can you explain to me? We hear a lot about welfare checks and most of the time, thank God, everything will be okay. But this is how some people are honestly discovered murdered. And we also hear about the police went, but there was no one home. And then police went again. Like, what do you do in a situation like this?
Yeah, it's real difficult for police because, again, you still have certain rights. They're just going.
I don't know exactly what refrigerator she was found in, if it was subsequently her own or another one. I assume it was her own. But if you want to hear the full story, you go over to True Crime News channel. It's about 20 more minutes left in the story. I'm not going to force y'all to sit through it. We got the gist of it. I just couldn't believe how they just wanted to act like, that certain profession deserved no judgment, no warning. There's no lesson to be learned about getting involved in these type of activities. And I think that's doing her a disservice because she did lose her life in part due to these decisions. And any young female, struggling with making these decisions in the midst of making the same decisions, I think they deserve to know that. And I'm gonna just let it go on that. Y'all keep it a Google. Cheetah, gratitude is the attitude. Rest in peace to that beautiful young lady.
Por favor, abre a porta do elevador. Eu tô com um pouquinho de medo, mas eu sei que o Senhor cuida de mim. Amém.
Wasn't that hustle? Big shout out to SPI, Spotter Low. I'm in the black box, had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned, all that.